Selamat pagi. Wow, you just had some food, right? Selamat pagi. Hi, good morning. So my name is Maggie Tiojakin. I am president and CRO, which is Chief Revenue Officer at the Jakarta Post, which is Indonesia's leading English media, founded in 1983. Hi, Mark. It's great to have you here. Good morning. So I'm just going to introduce the session a little bit, and then Mark will deliver an insightful presentation that I'm sure all of you would love to hear and take notes. But just briefly, I just want to thank IFTDO for having us, the Jakarta Post, as your strategic media partner, because we do believe that, at the Jakarta Post, we believe that a brand or an organization can only grow if the people behind it also grow. In fact, in the last few years at the Jakarta Post, we've been making a lot of different changes in the way that we approach people and culture. We realized that to help people grow, we need to do more than just implement people development strategy. We had to understand what growth means, both individually and as a team or as an organization. But you know what we uncovered though? Understanding growth has a lot to do with understanding fear. For the past 2 decades, the media industry has been severely disrupted by rapid technological advances. It still is. First, we were told that print publications would become obsolete, whether it be books, newspapers, or magazines. All of it were supposed to have died a decade ago. We're still waiting for it to die completely. It hasn't. Second, we were told that traditional journalism would no longer be relevant in a world run by digital content creators. And third, we were told that the media would lose its role as the fourth pillar of democracy. So you see, if the Jakarta Post had responded to these threats and warnings in fear, we wouldn't be here today. If we had responded in haste, we wouldn't be here today. Thankfully, we responded with caution. And as a result, we grew. In the last couple of years, we've tripled our digital subscribers. We've added new services to our brand and created new products, one of which is also a training solution in English writing and communication. But here's what we really did in the last few years. We looked at fear in the face and used it as a stepping stone toward opportunities and resilience. We acknowledged that technology would change the way people distribute and consume information. We saw firsthand how traditional journalism was losing content space to digital creators who were faster, more technologically adept, and more creative. But we also realized that our job as the traditional media isn't to fight against the current or double down in fear by following what everyone else is doing. Our job, first and foremost, is to stay relevant to our audience and stay true to our vision, which is to drive impactful change in and for Indonesia. And staying relevant in a world that hasn't stopped changing, hasn't stopped evolving, can be a difficult and intimidating thing, especially now that we find ourselves having to navigate a new form of disruption, artificial intelligence. In my line of work, this disruption is particularly unnerving because it feels like it's attacking our voice, our authenticity, our identity, all the things that make us human. But this fear is not unique to the media industry. It speaks to each and every one of us in this room and beyond, because it forces us to come face to face with the discomfort of being bested by our own creation. The question is then, not who will survive, but what does it take to survive? And that's why we're here at this session now. At a time of what feels like great distress, stuck between the inevitability of change and the necessity for transformation, how can we reclaim our purpose as an organization and as a leader? To help us navigate through these tough and important questions, I'm super excited to have Mark Nation here with us. He's a leadership expert, coach, and founder of Nation Leadership and Harvard Help Circle. Mark has built and managed companies across 5 industries, developing people, partnerships, and products on 6 continents. He is also the author of Made for Amazing, an instrumental journey of authentic leadership transformation. Can we have a round of applause again for him? Thank you to Jakarta, Mark. Mark will deliver a presentation, and then I will sit back down in the audience, and then I'll come back for a chat with Mark once he finished his presentation. Thank you very much.
Perfect. Thank you, Maggie. Thank you so much. Good morning, everyone. All right, apa kabar? Baik, baik. Thank you so much for your hospitality. It's beautiful to see you today. I'm going to go pretty quickly, but I want to just encourage us all to step outside of our mind and for the next 30 minutes, just enter that sacred space of your heart, okay? Everything I do, everything I say, everything I bring is focused on you. And everything starts with you. We're the ones that go back and lead others. So we have to always start with ourselves, work on ourselves, and that's what we're going to do today. Does that sound okay? All right. So we're going to talk a little bit about what I call human-centered leadership and the soul of change. And we'll talk about how to rediscover purpose, because this is a fact. Despite the technology we have in our lives, we are the software. We are the algorithm. We are the instruments. And so everything moves and breathes and lives and transforms with us and through us. So we'll talk about that. Now, Maggie mentioned the book that I wrote called Made for Amazing. It's a parable about a musician, a singer-songwriter trying to find his own song and his music and what he brings to life and the people that he can share it with and how he can use that to make a difference in the world. And that was his gift, but also his challenge. So before this week's over, everyone will receive a digital ebook copy for free. Thank you for IFTDO. All right, you ever think about what had to happen in life, in the world, in all the history of your lives to get to here right now? It's amazing when you think about it. And here we are. Of all the times in the world we could be alive, it's now. And I don't know about you, but despite all the challenges we face, I'd never prefer to live anywhere else, anytime else, than this period of history. And there must be a reason why we're here. So, again, everything that moves forward moves with and in and through us. And that's a great privilege, and it's also a sacred duty. So I think that's one of the beautiful things about being alive today. So this is a mantra I say to everyone I can think of, and I try to remember it myself, because we're never anywhere except here, right now. And this moment matters. We engineer tomorrow's future, tomorrow's memories, based on the moments that we share right now. It's the only place we are. So, if you don't mind, repeat after me. Always make the most of the moment you're in. Very good, very good. So hopefully we'll make the most of this moment and this week. Okay, this probably sounds somewhat like you. In the past few days, I know many of you took a cab or drove here. Probably not many walked, but I took a plane. Then I took taxis. I used my phone. I emailed my mom. I WeChat with my son in China. WhatsApp with my daughter in the US. I did Zoom for executive coaching, Teams for other executive training. I used LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, read the paper, you name it. What's the common, consistent message there? Telephone, text. It's technology. It's technology. And yeah, it has its challenges. Maybe I'm on it too much, but my life is so much better because it exists. It serves me. I just have to make sure I don't serve it. But, if you think about all the different industrial revolutions throughout history, it's involved big change and disruption. And everything changes all the time. It's just a fact, and we know that. But we just have to remember it because we can really get uptight. And if we're not careful, scared or worried and just want to give up or just press pause and be like, please give me a moment to catch my breath. Not really possible, but that's the period of the world that we've been placed into. So disruption it's a fact. How many heard of or read The Innovator's Dilemma from Clay Christensen, Harvard Business School, the late Christensen? Great guy. Simple, powerful book. But basically at its core, it's this. Disruption always happens. And the dilemma is, if you grow to become a great company, the very things that make you great are the things that put you at risk of being disrupted, of being disintermediated. So the challenge is, how do we do great where we already are and not lose focus on where we need to go next? That's the dilemma. How do we disrupt ourselves before we become disrupted? Now, in the past, we talked about it at the company level. Now it's at the very, very personal level, including us, starting with us. Because we're in a period where we've never experienced the kind of technology capabilities that we're looking at now. It makes everything possible. It really brings up existential questions. Well, who am I? Why am I here? What do I even want to do? I could do anything if I just knew what it was. What are you supposed to do? What are we supposed to do? What could we do? It's a beautiful set of questions, but kind of unsettling. And those are all coming to bear in front of our eyes daily. But we change. The statistic here is every 7 years, literally every cell in your body has transformed. So that's 8 lifetimes for me now. 8 lifetimes. So it's a fact, and that's a good thing. It's a good thing. So if we know that, we know we've probably had trainings about change management and managing change, leading change, and there are so many frameworks out there about change. At a very personal level, this is one of my favorite, Richard Boyatzis, and it's really just simple questions. Okay, what is the current state of me? What are my strengths? What do I need to learn? Where can I grow? What are the gaps? How can I work on them? And who do I need to help me? Very, very simple topics, but the weight becomes so much heavier now, not in a bad way, but because it's more existential. And it really gets to the individual. If you just think about the psychology of decision-making and behavior, your behavior is the very last kilometer of all the things that come before it. Your programming, your subconscious or unconscious, your core beliefs, the world as you see it. Your life, the story of your life isn't your life. It's just your story. Think about that. It's shaped by programming and your beliefs, and that drives your attitude, your feelings, your actions, and the results you get. So if you want to reverse it, you need better, different results, change your behaviors, change your feelings, change your programming, core beliefs, and so on. I say this because it really has to start with us. And whether we ever say it to anybody else or not, these sorts of sea changes in the world and at work do affect us more than we want to admit. And here's a question someone asked me last week from HR leader of a big tech firm that's driving AI. In the future, is it going to be about org charts or Borg charts, like cyborgs? It's a good question. It's a really good question. And we don't know. I mean, it's going to be some of both. But how do we manage it? How do we leverage it? How do we take all the technology like we've had before and bring it to bear in a positive and useful way? Just like planes, trains, automobiles. Okay, anybody seen this graph before? Don't worry so much about the detail, but look it up when you get a chance. gentleman named David Hawkins. Just as change is constant, we all know conceptually that everything is energy too, right? Everything moves. Everything is always on the move, proven without any question from quantum physics. So we also have an energy, and it's said that our energy field projects out about 2 meters around us. So we are energy in motion. That's what emotion is. So what Hawkins did was he took this energetic log scale and basically said, hey, look, where you are in life in any moment is a function of your energetic state, your internal state. And it can change in a heartbeat. But below the lower red line, the things that you're doing really in life and at work, you're forcing them at best, maybe just disturbing or destroying them, but you're living in a place of lack, of need, of win or lose. There's no synergy there. There's no ecosystem. There's no partnership there. Sometimes it's even survival mode. Above that, you're living by power, in your power. You're creating. You're leveraging abundance. You're bringing that energy to bear where life is living in you and with you and through you and using it for good. We have to remember because it's not easy to stay at that upper level. There is a thing called the upper limit challenge, and it challenges us. One book you can look up is called The Mood Elevator. A gentleman named Larry Senn, S-E-N-N. Great guy, great book. He's committed his life to helping people manage their own moods, their internal states, self-regulation, and so on. But the idea of the elevator is like a lift. You have a choice at any moment if you can come up and try to fight the pressure, or just drifting to kind of slowly go down. And a lot of that also has to do with the people we surround ourselves with, right? But it's the work of a lifetime, but nothing would be more important than managing your state. And again, it starts with us. Well, how do you know what kind of state people are in? How do you know what people are really thinking and feeling at work? If they're honest and you encourage them to be vulnerable and transparent, one of the best things you can do, just listen to them. And listen to what they're saying, yes, but be mindful of the words they use. You know, one of my favorite ladies in the world, it's also heartbreaking. She says words like this a lot. I'm worried. I'm stressed. Life kind of sucks. Man, so many problems. So much anxiety. I'm so irritated, frustrated, tired, so tired all the time. What do those words tell you about that person's state? Probably needs an ER visit, but you know, it can be all of us if we're not careful. That's where we have the choice to sort of press higher on the elevator and bring our state and our nervous systems back into regularity. So that brings us to AI. AI is great. I can't believe that it was maybe a year ago that only a few of us would know what a GPT was. Now everyone does, and or has created your own, or at least is curious, and or your children have told you about it, but it's unbelievable how ubiquitous it's gotten so quickly. And if you played around with it, I probably did 5 or 10 things in the past week, from meal planning to a workout plan. Didn't really make good use of that workout plan, but so help with some ideas and so on. It's just really, really amazing. But, you know, it has limitations. And maybe this will get solved, but it can't judge. It can't make, like, good in-the-moment decisions like we can around a table. The consciousness, the conscience isn't there the same way. You can model it, but it's just modeling pages from books and our thoughts and videos from YouTube and, God help us, TikTok. But it's powerful, but it doesn't in any way replace who we are and what we bring to the table. And the heart of business, any business, is never going to be AI or technology or planes, trains, and automobiles. It's going to be the heart. The heart of the business is always a matter of the heart. That's why we have to start there and come back to there and stay there. So, anybody heard about the idea of coherence? Hear of a company called Heart Math Institute, nonprofit. They've studied for the past decade or two the science of basically alignment between your head, your heart, and your gut, and how that impacts your emotional state, the energy you bring to life, and eventually how you show up in terms of your results with relationships, all the way to business. And it has really done an amazing job showing how when we're in alignment, that is coherence. Makes sense, right? But it's that synthesis that brings power, just like an engine. We all know your clean engine is what drives power, and that's what we need. But when we're living here and we're constantly busy or stressed or under deadline and don't spend enough time here or here, we're missing it. We're missing the power. We're missing the power. So, we're going to do a little exercise. If you don't mind, it's just going to take a minute. If you could stand up. You could stand up. Not going to have to do anything weird. I don't know, maybe. If you could, please just take 1 minute and close your eyes. And I'm going to give you some things to think about. If you could just close your eyes. Everyone, please. Okay. If we know that sort of the spirit of divine intelligence and everything that created this world, created you, is the most beautiful light. I want you to imagine the most beautiful light coming into the top of your head. You color whatever's most powerful and purest for you. It could be white. It could be yellow, golden. It could be purple. Imagine that light coming into the top of your head right now. The spirit of everything pure and everything that is love and beauty. Now imagine it coming down to your heart where your spirit resides. That is beauty, love, power, and perfection, and it's with you right now. Just feel it emanating, the light. Now as it cascades out to your hands and feet, think about something recently that was really powerful and moving to you. It could be a place you visited on vacation. It could be your child playing last weekend. It could be time with your spouse. Think about that moment. Feel the light, that divinity that's resting in you right now. Think about how that impacted you, that beautiful moment. Think about how grateful you are to be able to think about it and remember it right now. Okay, thank you. Thank you. You can sit down. So, did anyone feel anything a little bit different than a normal conference, or feel anything special even just for a second? Even just for a second. Okay. It changes your state, right? And we just did that. And it's proven science. You can't be anxious and stressed and grateful at the same time. We have access at any moment with every breath to change our state. So you can try that sometime. You can do it at work. I try to do it in the morning. Just get myself in the right state where I'm living in and with and through love. And at work, and before team meetings or one-on-ones. The highest and best place is always the best place to start. So one of the things I talk about in music, and you'll hear this as you read some of the book, is it's like doing a sound check for leaders. So one of the sound checks is always just check back in with your heart. Is my heart in it? If not, what do I need to be doing to get myself in the right place? Because we set the tone for the world in which we live. Okay, now we're going to take a segment here and we're going to talk about purpose because it is about rediscovering purpose. The exercise is going to be quick. You can talk with me after, and we can do more around this, but we know purpose matters, and I talk about leadership purpose. Purpose, broader purpose is great. We also need to make sure we have a good sense for why we do what we do at work. And so, without it, life just doesn't work. With it, everything has more power. So, business results prove it out too. Better engagement, longer people stay, the more productive they are, the more meaning they have. It just makes life better. So it's not a waste of time. So, purpose is not, for leadership, it's not your job, it's not your title, it's not your industry, it's not an aspiration. It's what comes from inside of you. It is that music, that song that drives you uniquely. It's the essence of who you really are. So, could you write your leadership purpose right now in one sentence? Someone first asked me the question, I could not. And what I did was I came up with something really generic, and probably 1,000 people could say the same thing. But, this stuff matters. This stuff matters. It's what makes you, you. And redefines everything. So here's the quick exercise. I'm going to use music as the metaphor. But if music is what drives you at work and with your teams and with your customers and partners in the community, you have to find the music that drives you, and it's different than mine. But remember, we're the instruments. So, purpose is not something you discover so much. You uncover it. It's almost like an archaeological dig, because when you were birthed, the spirit of who you are was placed in you, and you're developing it and chipping away at things that aren't you. So, it's great to go back to your childhood and say, what things shaped me? What did I love to play as a child? There are clues there, real clues. And what about as you got older? What did you play with all your heart using the music concept? What did you do for fun when time just stood still? You could do it all day for no reason. But you felt yourself light up. It had nothing to do with work. What sorts of things were they? What brought you to life? Now let's bring it to work. Think about these sort of peak moments. What are 2 or 3 where you feel like you were really rocking, if you will? Life was going well. You were performing at your best. You were in a state of flow. You were activated, and you really felt like there was something almost spiritual about what you were doing. Those moments have clues. And here's another interesting one. People forget about this, but often what breaks your heart or what crucible moments actually drove some of your lowest times, your most difficult challenges with people or the world, that often also has a real strong set of clues, because it can help you uncover the things that you stand for, your values, your ethics, how you want to operate so that those things aren't passed out and passed down. And then when you're not on stage or when you're not in the room, what's missing? You ever ask your friends that? You ever ask your parents that? You ever ask your spouse that? Your spouse would probably say, well, it's drama that's missing when you're not in the room. but it's an interesting point. And if you ask other people, I will guarantee you they'll tell you things that are not only powerful, but probably really make you feel not only a little bit emotional, but really pretty good about yourself, because people see us in ways that are so much better than often we even see ourselves. Because some of our purpose is so easy for us, we don't even realize that we're doing it. It's just us. Others can see it, and it's good to know that, because now you know the source of your cleanest power, and you can bring that to light. So, just a couple of closing thoughts about the specifics around leadership and developing leaders in a tech-driven world. You can look up more of these examples. I have a few examples because I worked in tech for so many years. I have lots of tech clients, but there's a lot of good work being done at different companies about how they're leveraging things like AI, but focus on equipping and enabling people, not replacing them. So it really does start with these power skills that are softer skills, they're really the power skills. How do you make a judgment? How do you lead that it's values-based? How do you mix technology and people? When do you know which decisions to make? When do you know to put a set of AI agents around a person to help them grow, to help them be more efficient? And when do you really focus on making sure that people make the decisions? And as a leader, how do you know? This is all uncharted territory for us. But those are irreplaceable skills. And here are just a few companies. You can look them up. This is easy to find. But Salesforce, I love what they're doing. They have apps built around this about helping people grow, bringing agents, building them from day one that really are kind of like the buddy system. You have your buddy, and it's trying to make sure it's there for you in any way you want. And it's there to make sure you succeed. Also, people like Microsoft, they're doing a lot of this cross-pollination of learning where you can choose to do anything else you want, learn anything else you want in a very open environment that might not be related to your job at all, but tomorrow it might be. Again, purpose drives it, but it's a way of having this buffet, this menu of options that allow people to develop as they'd like. That's a beautiful thing. BCG's Boston Consulting Group, one of the largest strategy firms in the world, their focus is on some executive coaching, but a lot of behavioral science, similar to what I'm talking about here. And then big universities are getting involved as well. But at its core, if you think about it, it really does start with developing the heart of the people in your charge and taking things from a training office to a chief purpose officer to a chief potential officer. Because if you could do anything, we just have to figure out what it is. And technology serves us. But judgment, decision-making, and complexity and how to manage through that, leveraging technology, that's the secret sauce. So if you think about it, this group in the room, they're your architects of purpose. You're architects of a future that needs to be human. Don't let that get lost on you. But we have to continue to always do the work ourselves so that we model the way. And the best thing we can do to help others is take care of ourselves and make sure we show up filled up, in alignment, in coherence, and with a clean engine that drives strong power. And we have a lot to learn ourselves, but that's a beautiful thing. Now, we're just one link in the chain. All we are is one person. That's it. Just a speck of sand on a vast beach and a rock that's hurtling around, hundreds of thousands of miles an hour in the middle of nowhere. And yet here we are. But you're not just one link. Everything you do impacts eternity. Sometimes, if your words are a wardrobe, even just 3 or 4 or 5 words can change the trajectory of someone's entire life. I know people have done that with you. We have that power. Yes, we're just one link, but we also are the chain. So continually check in with yourself on your link. Just the last couple of slides to finish up. We're always going to have a human future. As long as we exist, we drive the future. Technology helps us. We drive the future. But let's not forget, as fast as things go, we talk about disruption and disintermediation, life happens fast. This all ends, whether it's your company, your job. So make the most of the moment you're in. It happens so fast. And know that even if there's disruption that affects you, at the same time, everything that changes, or stops, gives you opportunities to start again something new. So every exit in its way is an entrance, and every ending is a new beginning. So always make the most of the moment you're in, because you never know when it's going to change. But we drive the future, and it's always in our hands. So be the mirror that looks inside yourself, helps others see themselves in the best light. Bring the light that's your music, that's your purpose, that's your secret sauce, the essence of who you are, to work, back to work, at the tables, at the event this week, and be a link, but know your link matters more than you can ever know. Even if things disrupt, just ask yourself, what does this make possible? It's the most beautiful question. Even if you're suffering, what does this make possible? So I'm here this week, happy to talk with you more, but I really appreciate you taking this to heart, and I wish you all the best today and always. Cheers. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mark. That was very insightful. That was wow. I think we've heard some of the terms, right, about leading with heart, but I think in terms of implementation, it's completely different thing, right? And which is what I want to talk to you most about right now. I think we only have short minutes, so I'm going to ask like 3 meaty questions to you.
Okay.
So I love that you start with finding that sacred space inside your head, right? And always starting with that, right? In the morning, before you start work, before you make a decision, right? Have that sacred space, access that sacred space. Now, what I find also is that people in general tend to have 2 stories, 2 narratives. The narratives that we tell ourselves and the narratives that we tell other people. And there's always a gap. And in order to access that sacred space, you need to understand the gap, which requires self-awareness. But not a lot of people bring self-awareness to work, do they, Mark? So my question is, if we were to put this into implementation, accessing our sacred space, noticing the gap between the stories we tell ourselves and the stories we tell other people, and being aware of how to listen to ourselves and being aware of how to listen to other people, what's the first practical step can you suggest to us that we can implement on a daily basis, whether with ourselves or with our team?
Yeah, great question. Wow, it's the work of a lifetime.
Meaty questions.
Work of a lifetime. I mean, I hope that we're fortunate and blessed enough to work in an organization where a culture of transparency and vulnerability is modeled from the top. Let's hope that's the case. And if it is, you have carte blanche to be able to open up and just be human wherever you are.
Right.
Be integrated. Be coherent. If it's not, then this room has the chance to be able to be a change maker and model that level of courage and vulnerability. And so much of it, I think, starts with us in that we just bring ourselves to work.
Right.
Sometimes we're having a bad day. Sometimes we're operating on 20% capacity because we're sick or there's some stress at home life for a child, and that's okay. But if people know that, then it encourages them to be okay sharing too. And as leaders, having that safe space can become sacred.
Right. So in a sense, it's giving yourself permission to be human.
Permission to be
not
human.
just the role that you play in an organization.
That's right.
Right?
That's right. We're human.
Even if you're way at the top, what does it mean to be a human CEO?
Yeah, a human being, a human becoming, not a human doing.
Right. And that's hard. And that involves a lot of fear, right? Because people like to go to work, wear a mask, and they don't want to seem like they need anything. They don't want to seem like they don't know anything, right? So they tend to just cover themselves up and feel like, oh, today I'm going to be invincible. Today I'm going to be a powerful leader that nobody can touch. Because behind that, I feel there's a lot of fear. So to follow up, how do you handle that fear?
How do you, good question.
Because it's insecurity, right? And everyone has it. And the higher you go, sometimes the more intense the insecurity that you feel. So how do you deal with it?
So true, so true. I think it's part of it is being comfortable in your own skin. Purpose, that's why purpose is so important, is to know who you are and know who you aren't, and know whose you are.
Right.
And then a lot of grace and self-compassion.
Yeah.
Because having a good sense of humor when you screw something up or fail is kind of like, oh, man.
Right.
It's funny.
Right.
Funny.
Right.
But and being able to reflect in that sort of way. And the other thing I would say is, one of the best traits of emotional intelligence and relational intelligence is curiosity.
Right.
So just being honestly curious about your own life and a student of the journey, and therefore curious about other people's lives and their journey in the moment, in the
Right.
months and years, it opens up a space where you can accept fear is there
Right.
and move anyway. And
Right.
part of the movement and the solution comes from having someone around you
Right.
versus facing it yourself.
Right. So I love that you mentioned curiosity, which is also part of your presentation, right? So I have a tiny question. Is it nurture or nature? Curiosity.
Yes.
Which one?
I mean, I think a lot of it is nurture. I mean,
Okay.
we're embedded with everything possible
Right.
from the moment we're born.
Right.
We're blessed with our faculties,
Right.
and yet we're tasked and charged with the opportunity
Right.
to grow as much as we'd like.
Right.
And you know, the level of your growth will usually be correlated highly with the level of your curiosity
Right.
and grace and compassion. So they all are nurtured along the way
Right.
with lots of fits and starts, but
Yeah.
a lot of fun.
And I think that's part of the challenges in today's modern organization, right? How do you bring curiosity out of people? Because I've heard this a lot, because we do trainings as well, and I've heard this a lot. I've heard a lot of our clients actually, how do we make our team more curious, right? So that's the question. Is it nurture or is it nature, right? Are you just born curious, or can you be made curious? And you think it's also, you can be made curious, right? There's like a process that you can go through to sort of make people more curious,
Yes.
right? The question is, if I was the head of an HR department and I have this task, make the teams more curious, what do I do? Do I just talk to them one-on-one, what makes them curious? Or what do I do? Do I just host a talk on the role of curiosity in an organization? Because it feels like this is something that people when we say have more curiosity, they get offended, right? Because curiosity a lot of the times is linked to intelligence, right? Linked to critical thinking. So the idea of have more curiosity, cultivate the spirit of curiosity, feels a bit condescending.
Okay.
So what would I do as the head of an HR department when I am told, or I feel like I need my team to be more curious instead of just repetitively, like I think the minister said, there's the task-oriented, right?
Yes.
And we want people to grow
Yeah.
into, the people-first future, right?
Yeah.
We want them to be human potentials.
Right.
But curiosity is a huge part of it.
It is. Well, you could take one of two approaches. One could be you create one slide it's black
Okay.
with white 120-point font, send it out to the whole organization
Okay.
and say, you need to be more curious. People, get more curious right now. One approach.
That one.
Or else.
Or else.
Other approach would be, hopefully you've modeled it already naturally, and people see you as curious
Right.
and embracing and wanting to learn.
Right.
Ideally, that happens naturally.
Right.
If not, creating an environment where you allow people to do that.
Right.
And from business, not worried so much about the heart and the soft skills, but
Right.
starting with, hey, the best answers to what our company might need to do tomorrow or for the next decade
Yeah.
might sit inside your heart and your brain right now.
Right.
And if you don't share, we all
Yeah.
suffer the opportunity to not be better.
Right.
So having everyone know that they each contain the best ideas
Right.
for the future, and just start to bring those to bear.
Right.
And a lot of answers don't start with the answer. They start with well, what if? What if we? What if you?
Yeah.
What if?
Yeah, I love
That's
that.
all.
The what if questions.
What
yeah.
if questions?
Yeah.
What might this make possible?
Right. And
Yeah.
even if it seems impossible, why not
Yeah.
do the what if? Because it might be possible.
Yeah, it might
right?
be possible.
Yeah.
And in this day and age, with technology, I mean, my kids know more about AI than I do,
Right.
and I know a little, but it's amazing what they just dig around
Right,
and find. So I
right.
really feel like this is a really interesting time to be able to invert the org chart, where it really becomes more about
Right.
servant leadership, where
Yeah.
you steward
Right.
younger resources who
Right.
honestly will hold more and more power to transform the
Yeah.
organization. That's my opinion.
True. But now we go into the AI and automation, right? If and you've mentioned this, if technology's role is to amplify and not replace human potential, how do we ensure that integrating AI into our workflow, for example, will still make people feel empowered rather than displaced?
Well, so displacement will happen. It's a fact.
Right.
Every industrial revolution created, destroyed some jobs or reapportioned them.
Right.
Not everyone's a farmer.
Right.
But it created new opportunities too. And over time, I think we'd all agree that technology inherently has helped our lives be better.
Right.
So it's not to be afraid of, but job types may change, and that's okay.
Right.
But in the spirit of being curious, lean into that uncertainty,
Right.
and sort of run into the storm versus avoid it,
Right.
because something beautiful is on the other side. Something
Right.
beautiful is always on the other side.
Right.
You never know what amazing thing lies just around the next corner, and it almost always does, even if it's in the form of a challenge
Right.
or heartbreak. It's a fact.
Yeah.
It's a fact.
Yeah.
So I think so that's the worst case scenario. What's
Yeah.
really happening, and if you look to Microsoft and Cisco and Salesforce, they're just equipping and embracing their people with offloading a lot of the BS work that we all face.
Yeah.
How much administrative burden
Yeah.
and non-revenue generating activities we do that we would do anything to get rid of because there's really not that relevant to
Right.
what we should be doing.
Right.
Get rid of that stuff.
Yeah.
Put some agents in place. Put
Yeah.
automation in place.
Right.
And let's focus on what we can do best.
I love that. Focus on what we can do best. And sometimes that means choosing your battle, right? And that's also a huge part of it. All right, so we have actually come to the end of the session, but I do want to highlight what Dr. Patty Phillips mentioned. Hopefully after every session, you do have one action item that you jot down for you to do in the next 3 weeks. But as a closing, I want you to suggest one thing that the people here can do to start getting into the heart intelligence in their organization or in their leadership journey that help them to find that one action item that they can do in the next 3 weeks.
Yeah, I mean, for me, there's so many things that I try to live by myself. But I spoke last year in Cairo and talk a lot about love-centered leadership, and really, it all starts and continues and ends with what you do with love and how you operate with love and how you can bring your full self to life, which includes work. And the more we can stay in tune with that and attuned to it, the more goodness we bring to life and encourage others to do the same. And I couldn't think of no better investment than to do that. Just focus on becoming a more love-centered leader.
I love that. Focus on becoming. Thank you so much, Mark.
You're
It's
welcome.
been a
Thank you,
pleasure.
Maggie.
Thank you.
Thank you.